Today to explain the long queues at pay points and why some beneficiaries have still not received their money this month. There is currently a changeover process, of course, to ensure that the administration of payments is moved away from Cash Paymaster Services, whose contract with SASSA was deemed unlawful. The Post Office will officially take over from CPS in administering those payments from September, but it's already issued new SASSA cards and it's involved in payments. Beneficiaries with the new cards, however, have not in some cases been able to access some or all of their income. To discuss, we're joined by the CEO of the Post Office, Mark Barnes. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Barnes. What is the situation right now?
No, thank you. Look, I think the situation has dramatically improved over the last couple of days, but let's take a few steps back. Initially, the Post Office had the mandate to deal with the electronic payment solution that was within Grenard, and then a couple of months ago the government took the decision that we should also have the mandate to deal with the cash payments, which were under CPS and were the subject of the constitutional court order, which had to stop. So we found ourselves with something of an urgent agenda ahead of us. We planned for all of the systems. We didn't plan for the extent of take-up that we've had. As recently as a month ago, we only had something like 240,000 people that swapped cards. Today we're sitting at 1.5 million. And so we had some systems volume issues, and let me outline them to you and tell you how they've been solved. In the first instance, we are onboarding beneficiaries at the same time as we're paying other beneficiaries out. That's a very unusual systems duality that's not going to continue after the first and final onboarding. We had catered, and I don't want to get too technical. We catered for a line speed of 20. It should have been 100. It's now at 60, and it's working. Because there's a new card, there's a new bank identification number known as the PIN number, which has to be applied and put in place in some of the merchants. That wasn't put in place yet. There are industry standards which dictate that you can only draw up to 1,600 Rand at a time on an autobank or a merchant transaction. That number had to be increased in order for people who've got a higher grant to draw all the money out at once. Okay. So we had a situation where some people were timed out because of our systems issues not coping with the volumes that we ended up having, and people say you should have planned for that. We tried to, and what we can tell you for sure is that by 11:30 on Sunday, every social grant recipient had money on their card, so they could go to a merchant like Spar or Pick n Pay or ShopRite and get their money. And that the systems now have been upgraded using resources of the state primarily, so that we are now up to a processing time of 20 seconds per transaction. The volumes that we were facing on Sunday were 100 transactions per second, and we were sitting at 20. We're now sitting at 60. And so let me say this, it's a couple of days that we didn't anticipate the volume of work that we had to do. We are obliged to have paid those grants by the 5th of July, which is tomorrow. We still think we're going to do that. 65% of the grants that are on our system have already been paid. That was as of this afternoon earlier. We've got 1.1 million cards on the system, which are paying out 1.04 billion rands worth of money. My latest count is we've paid out 960 of that 1 billion already.
So you've explained the technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Do you take responsibility for poor planning? I mean, maybe by the 5th it'll be done. We know people some of them expected that money. For some people, this is food on the table. Yesterday, the day before, today and tomorrow. These are people living on the edge, some of them.
No, we get that, and I'll tell you what we're doing about that now. Yes, we of course have to take responsibility for some bad planning, but bearing in mind this solution that we put in place has taken us 4 months. It took CPS 18 months the first time they did it. So it was something that came to us unexpectedly, which we didn't put our hands up for, but we grasped eagerly, because the real truth of this is, and I'll get back to what we're doing about it, the real truth of this is that we've got a couple of days of disruption here, but forever the beneficiaries are going to be significantly better off with the Post Office and the government providing the service than they were in the way they were being treated in the final receipts that they got in the private sector.
But that doesn't help them right now.
But right now, okay, so getting back to right now.
Grandmothers, orphans.
Yes, getting back to that right now. So we have people manning the queues as we speak. We are keeping post offices open for as long as it takes, that's where the queue is. We are now, in conjunction with SASSA, and we've become partners with SASSA, are handing out food vouchers, if that's what's required for the day. And we are doing what we can to deal with a situation that we didn't execute perfectly. I'm sorry. I apologize. We are doing what we can to, and we will put all the resources we can to do it, and it will be solved in a matter of days, and forever it will be better.
I haven't kept up with each and everything you've said, but there's been a general confidence, I think, in your rhetoric about the ability of the post office to take over these payments. Looking at the last few days, does it all prove that wrong? No,
it doesn't prove it wrong at all. Let me just say this. I mean, I accept that this thing's got an extraordinarily high profile and it's a matter of national interest, and we're dealing with vulnerable people. But I've yet to come across a systems changeover that doesn't have some initial teething problems. Unfortunately, these are measured in human, difficulty, and so they become all the more marked. Okay, and we recognize that, and we recognize and subscribe to the notion that one beneficiary not paid is one beneficiary too many not paid. We're out there trying to solve it. I wish it wasn't like this, but please believe you me, we're going to solve it in the next couple of days at most, and it'll then be solved forever, and everyone will have more money.
I understand the full takeover is in September, so there's a transition phase. Can we as South Africa trust the post office to follow through with that full takeover 100%. In September?
We are under instruction from the Interministerial Committee of Cabinet to complete the changeover by the end of August, to give us a month's play. So yes, this time we're planning a lot. Well, they are instructing us to plan a lot more properly, and I have every confidence that by the 30th of September we will not have to go back to the Constitutional Court and renew CPS, and it'll be a defined event. No one's going to take a chance. If we can't prove we can do it by then, they would have to extend the contract. And that would be the worst of all outcomes for all of us, including the government. And so we have every energy. I can assure you, I was up way before light this morning, and I went to bed way after light on Sunday evening. Okay, we take it very seriously, and we're doing this on purpose because we believe it is in the long-term best interest. And I'm sorry about the bad start.
So explain why things will be better, and also, of course, there's a concern that CPS had this infrastructure, this reach going deep into rural areas with those cash pay points where you don't have a post office. So how's it all going to work? Is it going to be less pay outlets?
So cash is the worst way of delivery. Okay.
So you're trying to move people away from cash.
Yeah, we're trying to move people away from cash. In fact, there were some 2.5 million people that were paid in the cash channel. That's going to be reduced to about 800,000. There were some 8,000 SASSA pay points. That's going to be reduced to 3,000. Because just think about it. Cash doesn't move around in boxes or on the back of trucks. Okay. Cash moves around in machines. It moves around electronically. And finally, when you need it, and that's the safest way to deal with it. You don't want to hand someone cash when everyone can see that happening. Cash in transit is not the solution to paying social grants, because particularly it's a defined event which happens in a couple of days. And it's very, very expensive. It costs like almost 10 times the amount to deliver cash to someone than it does to deliver it to them electronically through a branch or whatever the case. I actually think we'll get rid of cash completely within the next 18 months to 2 years, as smartphones become more user-friendly, and as electronic pay solutions and e-wallets and these kinds of things, which we are already engaged in, become the norm, even at the most entry level of understanding. So, I mean, I think what we're doing here really, and yes, we've had some glitches, and I can tell you it's kept. Can't you see how old I'm looking? But in the end, what we're going to have is a system that is a service of government, not a business in the private sector, to pay monies to its people in the most efficient, oversight way that has their best interest at heart. No Section 26A deductions, no triple funeral policy deductions, no loans that you can't afford loaded onto your account. No, none of that is going to happen.
Well, on that, we've been speaking to an NGO that says CPS, it accused CPS of trying to move business to Grindrod, where those cards do accept debit orders, of potentially blocking some of your activity. Is there a big fight going going on right now between CPS and the post office?
Yes, there is. There's
How
interference.
ugly is it?
Well, there's blatant interference. We've had people physically blocking access to the card onboarding process. We've had people from CPS offering deals to entice people that are not in their best interest, to entice them to stay or switch onto one of their cards or so on. Listen,
so
there are also people going to commercial banks.
Vulnerable person who doesn't know what to do and now is being lobbied from both sides.
You know, I think there's going to be a period of education, of self-education, so to speak. We're out there trying to get these messages out. We go into church halls, we go into schools, we go into the community. We have local counsellors going around and talking to people. We're on all the radio stations in all of the languages. But here's the thing. Even the commercial banks now are getting a bigger and bigger piece of this, where you just got a normal, if I can call it that, bank account. Okay, but there is no cheaper, more efficient solution than that which we have designed in government through the post office as a post bank as a vehicle. We are going to give, you know, free withdrawals, free statement numbers. We're going to limit the amount of deductions that you can have for a funeral policy to at most 10% of your social grant. We're going to ensure that there are no deductions, no loans that go through that and are exploiting them. Those are the unseen benefits, and the transaction costs. We're going to give 3 free withdrawals. People usually use only 1 free withdrawal, but I think for us in the normal commercial world, let me say, don't count as much as we should the transaction costs, the switch costs of going to an auto bank, drawing some money and looking for a balance statement and an inquiry. As a percentage of the social grant, that's a huge percentage number of 1,600 Rand. It's a big percentage number. Those are the sorts of things that we as the state are going to be providing for free.
All right, let's end, but given what's happened, I asked you earlier, can South Africans trust the post office?
Yes, of course you can.
You said yes, but how do we hold you now to what you're saying, that this is a better service for the most vulnerable in this society?
Well, I think, you know, come tomorrow or the next day, bring me back here and let's see, because we would have solved it by then, and it would have been a delay and a difficult experience for some people for a couple of days. And after that, they will be looked after by the government as citizens to whom we're providing service, not as an economic opportunity for others to exploit. So I apologize unreservedly. We've got all our resources at work. And resources beyond SASSA and SAPA are getting involved, where we've got other systems capabilities that we can use, state security that we can use for these deliveries and so on. And you know, after these first couple of days, for which I apologize one more time, things will be right, and things will be by far and away in the better interest of the country and of the people involved.
All right, thank you for being with us tonight. That was the CEO of the Post Office, Mark Barnes. Bongani?
Well, thank you, Francis.